Hi everyone, welcome to my short series, Play Smarter Not Harder, helping you take full advantage of what Elden Ring has to offer, especially early in the game. This episode we're going to be going over slash damage and bleed. If you didn't start with the samurai class that comes with the Uchi, you can pick it up here in the Death Touch Catacombs early in the game. You can simply just run in and grab it, and then either die or make your way back out. There are lots of weapons in the game that do slash damage, mainly the curved swords and the Japanese-inspired swords. You can also pick up the Nagakiba here early in the game if you don't want to do this guy's quest and you don't mind taking him out. The Nagakiba also has inherent bleed on it, which is super useful, and it has great range. The stat recs are a little bit higher, but with a few things you can wield it super early. While you're in this area, you might as well pick up the Unsheathed Ash of War nearby in this part of the lake. Just get in and get out before the crabs get you. Another handy Ash of War to have on slash weapons is Double Slash. You can find it here in what I think is Celia Town of Sorcery. Simply make your way there from any set of grace you choose. Go up the steps, snag your seed while you're at it, and then I like to equip a throwing knife of some kind, as this scarab likes to teleport around. You can make it easy by just coming here and just throwing. Another thing that's handy for any build, especially slash bleed build, is the Blood Blade incantation. It can be found from a scarab here near this church in Liurnia. From Temple Quarter, simply make your way over to the church. This incantation has a low rec of, I believe, 10 arcane. Another thing worth picking up is the Dex tier for your physic. From the Scenic Isle Grace, simply just head out the back towards the candle thing. You should be able to pick it up right over here. It lasts 3 minutes and gives 10 stats to your Dex. You should be able to wield the Nagakiba with this. And since most slash weapons scale with Dex, it's an obvious pick. Here we're going to take advantage of this enemy's weakness to slash damage. A combination of slash damage and the Ash of War does heavy damage to these enemies. Most enemies that are fleshy in nature that don't have any armor or hard hides are weak to slash damage. This includes humanoid enemies without armor. Also, very conveniently, most of these same enemies are also weak to bleed. This makes bleed weapons that do slash damage extremely useful. The Blood Blade incantation adds a base fire damage to your weapon, but the fire damage to the enemy also does bleed buildup. This helps maintain your bleed procs even when you're not attacking as much. When trying to proc bleed, landing lots of hits is beneficial. This double slash Ash of War is great for proccing. This +0 Nagakiba does good work here. A lot of enemies that might be weak to slash could also be weak to fire. You can triple up on weaknesses to some extent. Here this enemy is slightly weak to slash, weak to fire, but also can be weak. Bleed does a percentage damage. It's typically around 10%. It can be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on boss or normal enemy. Here the bleed can make up for the lack of damage when going at this boss at near base level stats, and the +0 weapon. 10% of HP on a boss that has a huge HP pool can be extremely massive. One of the first big hurdles many players reach in the game is Marget. However, he is weak to both slash and bleed, making a slash bleed build pretty optimal for dealing with him early. Typically with the bleed build, when you get a posture break, you always want to get in a few extra hits before you take the critical. Sometimes the game has a funny way of doing things there though. With just enough stats to use the Flame Grant Me Strength buff and the Bloodblade incantation, this plus 0 Nagakiba makes pretty quick work of Marget. The Unsheathed Ash of War R2 does heavy damage and decent posture damage. This means it's never a bad choice on any of the Japanese swords. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you found something useful. Check out some of my other videos for other useful tips.